The massive chamber of Nexus Prime Station buzzed with alien voices speaking in dozens of different languages. Ambassador Kim Soo-hyun sat in the human section, his hands folded tightly on the smooth metal table before him. The chair felt too big for his human frame, designed for the larger Korthak representatives who dominated the military council. Around him, creatures that still seemed impossible after 15 years of contact moved and spoke with the casual confidence of those who had ruled the galaxy for centuries. The Velkari Chancellor Thexmore stood at the center podium, his tall, blue-skinned form draped in the ceremonial robes of his office. His forearms gestured elegantly as he addressed the assembled representatives from 12 different star systems. The translator device in Soo-hyun's ear converted the Chancellor's melodic language into crisp, emotionless English words. Honored representatives, we gather today to address a growing threat to galactic stability, Thexmore announced. His golden eyes swept across the chamber, deliberately avoiding the human section. The species we welcomed into our council 15 years ago has proven to be more dangerous than we initially assessed. Soo-hyun felt his stomach drop. He had expected criticism, perhaps sanctions for humanity's rapid military expansion, but the formal tone suggested something far worse. Around the chamber, alien representatives shifted in their seats, many nodding in agreement with the Chancellor's words. The massive holographic display above the podium flickered to life, showing images of human military installations across known space. Earth's orbital defense platforms appeared first, their angular, aggressive design a stark contrast to the flowing, organic shapes favored by most alien architectures. Next came footage of human warships, their hulls bristling with weapon systems that made even the Korthak military uncomfortable. In just 15 standard years, humanity has militarized faster than any species in recorded galactic history, Thexmore continued. They have weaponized technologies we shared in good faith. They have turned peaceful mining equipment into instruments of war. Most concerning, they have begun developing weapons systems that violate several established galactic treaties. General Krekstar, the Korthak representative, rose from his seat. His massive reptilian form towered over the other delegates as he activated his own speaking device. The humans claim these weapons are defensive, but our analysts disagree. No defensive weapon requires the destructive capability we have observed in their testing. Soo-hyun stood, his voice steady despite the growing dread in his chest. Honored delegates. Humanity has always been transparent about our defensive preparations. We have invited inspection teams to every facility. We have shared our technology freely with council members. The weapons General Krekstar mentions are theoretical research only. A ripple of what might have been laughter passed through the alien delegates. The insectoid hive queen clicked her mandibles in a pattern Soo-hyun had learned meant dismissal. The energy being representative from the Rift-born collective pulsed with colors that translated to skepticism in his universal translator. Chancellor Thexmore raised one of his four hands for silence. Ambassador Kim, your species' definition of defensive and ours appear to differ significantly. We have reviewed human military history. Your people have spent more time at war than at peace throughout your recorded civilization. You have weapons, designed specifically to eliminate entire populations. You have strategies based on the complete destruction of your enemies. That history is behind us, Soo-hyun protested. Humanity has not engaged in aggressive warfare since joining the galactic community. Our military exists to protect human colonies from pirates and natural disasters. Yet you continue to expand that military, General Krekstar interjected. Your shipyards produce vessels at a rate that exceeds any reasonable defensive need. Your training exercises simulate scenarios far beyond protection from pirates. The holographic display shifted to show classified footage that made Soo-hyun's blood run cold. Somehow the aliens had obtained recordings of human military exercises, including classified scenarios that involved defending Earth from invasion. The footage showed human forces employing tactics that were effective but brutal by galactic standards. Ambassador Lisi Ann, the pale, ethereal representative of the Solari, finally spoke. Her telepathic species rarely contributed to council debates, preferring to observe and advise privately. The human's emotional intensity is unlike anything we have encountered. Their capacity for violence when threatened is significant. Her words carried more weight than she probably intended. The Solari's telepathic insights were respected throughout the council, and their neutral stance on most issues made their opinions valuable. Su-Yun realized that even humanity's few potential allies were concerned about human military capability. Thexmore nodded approvingly at the Solari representative. This brings us to the matter of recent incidents in contested space. 3 trade convoys have reported aggressive interactions with human military patrols. 2 mining installations have filed complaints about human defensive exercises that disrupted their operations. Those exercises were conducted in clearly marked training areas, Su-Yun said, but his voice lacked conviction. He knew the incidents Thexmore referenced, and while technically legal, they had been provocative. Human commanders had been testing alien responses to their new ship designs and weapon systems. The pattern is clear, General Krextar announced. Humanity is preparing for war. Whether they intend to attack other council members or simply intimidate us into compliance, their actions threaten the peaceful cooperation that has defined galactic civilization for millennia. The chamber fell silent as the weight of the accusations settled over the assembled delegates. Su-Yun looked around desperately for any sign of support, but found only alien faces that ranged from concerned to openly hostile. Even the normally friendly Trader Consortium representatives avoided his gaze. Chancellor Thexmore returned to the podium, his forearms spread wide in a gesture that appeared benevolent but felt ominous. After extensive deliberation, the Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding humanity's continued membership. Su-Yun's heart raced. He activated his emergency communicator, sending a priority signal to Admiral Choi Ji-ho on Earth. Whatever was coming, humanity needed to know immediately. Effective immediately, humanity is expelled from the Galactic Council, Thexmore announced. All human personnel must withdraw from Council space within 72 standard hours. All human facilities in Council territory will be transferred to appropriate management. All access to Council trade networks and communication systems will be terminated. The chamber erupted in alien voices expressing approval, concern, and in a few cases what sounded like relief. Su-Yun stood frozen, unable to process the magnitude of what had just happened. 15 years of careful diplomacy, of proving humanity's worth to the galactic community, had been destroyed in a single session. Furthermore, Thexmore continued, raising his voice over the commotion, any human military vessels found in Council space after the deadline will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly. General Krextar's reptilian features twisted into what might have been a smile. The Korthak Defense Force will ensure compliance with this directive. We will escort human vessels to the designated exit points. Su-Hyun found his voice at last, though it came out as barely more than a whisper that the chamber's amplification systems picked up and broadcast. This is a mistake. Humanity has been a loyal member of this council. We have contributed technology, resources, and friendship. Why are you doing this? Chancellor Thexmore's golden eyes finally met Su-Hyun's directly. Because, Ambassador Kim, your species represents chaos in a galaxy that values order. You change too quickly, adapt too readily, and question too much. The Council has existed for thousands of years by maintaining stability. Humanity threatens that stability simply by existing. The session ended with formal votes that were mere ceremony. Every species except the Silari voted for humanity's expulsion. Ambassador Lysian abstained, her pale features troubled as she gathered her materials and left without speaking to anyone. As the chamber emptied, Su-Hyun remained in his seat, staring at the empty podium where humanity's fate had been decided. His communicator buzzed with an encrypted message from Admiral Choi. Received your alert. Taeguk is ready. Show them what they're giving up. Far from Earth, in the deep space shipyard that orbited beyond Pluto, Captain Lee Dae-hyun received similar orders aboard humanity's most advanced warship. The sleek angular vessel that bore little resemblance to the graceful curves preferred by alien shipbuilders hummed with barely contained power. Dr. Park Mina stood beside him on the bridge, her dark eyes reflecting the glow of tactical displays that showed human colonies scattered across the galaxy's edge. Sir, she said quietly, Admiral Choi's orders are confirmed. Operation Homecoming is authorized. Captain Lee nodded, his jaw set with determination that would have made the Solari's telepathic warning seem prophetic. Then it's time to show the galaxy what humanity looks like when we're no longer playing by their rules. Chancellor Thexamore dismissed his security detail with a wave of his upper right hand as he entered his private chambers aboard Nexus Prime. The ornate room reflected Velkari aesthetic preferences with its flowing curves and soft, bioluminescent lighting that pulsed gently like a heartbeat. General Krextar was already waiting, his massive reptilian form seeming out of place among the delicate Velkari furnishings. The human ambassador looked genuinely surprised, Thexamore observed as he poured himself a glass of fermented Velkari, nectar. Either their intelligence services are more limited than we assumed, or Ambassador Kim was kept uninformed of his government's true intentions. Krextar's throat sac inflated slightly, a sign of amusement among his species. It matters little. Surprised or not, the humans are now expelled. My fleets are already moving to escort positions along the major transit routes. Any human vessel that resists will be dealt with permanently. The Chancellor settled into his meditation pod, his forearms arranging themselves comfortably as the pod's neural interfaces connected with his consciousness. General, you must understand that this action was not taken from fear. The Velkari have dominated galactic commerce for over 3,000 years. We did not achieve this position by allowing potential competitors to disrupt our carefully maintained systems. Of course, Krextar replied, though his tone suggested he had his own reasons for supporting humanity's expulsion. The Korthak military has observed human combat simulations. Their tactics are disturbing. They fight as if survival depends on total victory rather than honorable defeat. Thexamore's golden eyes glowed brighter as he accessed the classified files that had convinced the Council to act. Their technological advancement rate is unprecedented. In 15 years, they have achieved breakthroughs that typically require centuries of development. Their shipbuilding techniques produce vessels that are crude by our aesthetic standards but remarkably effective. The holographic display between them showed detailed analysis of human military technology. Weapon systems that prioritized function over form, armor designed to absorb punishment rather than deflect it elegantly, and most concerning, spacecraft that could be produced quickly and in large numbers without the craftsmanship delays that limited other species' military expansion. Their artificial intelligence development concerns our analysts most, Thexamore continued. Human AI systems are designed to adapt and learn at rates that make them unpredictable. Other species create AI to serve specific functions within established parameters. Humans create AI to solve problems by any means necessary. Krextar accessed his own files through his neural implant, sharing tactical assessments with the Chancellor. My strategists have identified several human innovations that violate established conventions of warfare. They have developed weapons designed to target life support systems rather than weapons arrays. Their boarding tactics prioritize capturing enemy vessels intact rather than destroying them honorably, because they see war as a problem to be solved rather than a ritual to be performed, Thexamore noted. This is what makes them dangerous to our established order. The galaxy has enjoyed peace because all major species understand the rules. Conflicts are limited. Trade disputes are settled through established protocols, and military actions follow predictable patterns. The Chancellor rose from his meditation pod and activated a secure communication channel. The image of Commander Velthara, his chief intelligence coordinator, appeared in the holographic field. Her pale blue features showed the strain of managing the operation against humanity. Report, Thexamore commanded. Phase 1 is complete, Chancellor. The human expulsion has been formalized and is being broadcast throughout Council space. Phase 2 assets are in position along human trade routes. We have already staged 3 incidents that will appear to be pirate attacks on human vessels. Krextar leaned forward, his predatory features showing interest. Casualties? Minimal so far. The goal is to demonstrate that humans cannot defend their scattered colonies without Council protection. However, if they resist our guidance toward voluntary relocation, casualties will become necessary. Thexamore nodded approvingly. What is the status of our asset recruitment among other species? The Hive Queens have agreed to restrict access to their shipping networks for human goods. The Riftborn Collective is blocking human access to energy trade markets. The Trader Consortium is more reluctant, but they understand the economic advantages of limiting human competition. And the Solari? Thexmore asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer would be problematic. Commander Velthara's image flickered with what might have been nervousness. Ambassador Lysian has been difficult to influence. The Solari telepathic abilities make them resistant to standard diplomatic pressure. They seem genuinely concerned about the ethics of our approach. General Krextar's throat sac deflated, dismissively. The Solari are pacifists by nature. They lack the strength to oppose our decisions even if they disagree. Their few vessels are research ships, not warships. Nevertheless, Thexmore warned, monitor their communications carefully. The Solari have influence beyond their military capability. Their reputation for neutrality makes their opinions valuable to smaller species that might otherwise support our actions without question. The secure channel closed, leaving the two leaders alone in the Chancellor's chambers. Krextar stood and began pacing, his heavy footsteps muffled by the chamber's acoustic dampeners. Chancellor, my intelligence services have identified a concerning development. The humans have been constructing a new class of warship in secret. Our agents have been unable to penetrate their security, but energy signatures suggest weapon systems beyond anything in our databases. Thexmore's forearms gestured dismissively. Human technology is impressive but crude. Their weapons may be powerful, but they lack the sophistication of Korthak military engineering or the elegance of Velkari energy systems. Perhaps, Krextar conceded. But their approach to warfare itself is what concerns my strategists. They appear to have studied every major conflict in galactic history and developed countermeasures for established tactical doctrines. The Chancellor accessed historical files, reviewing the data that had first brought humanity to the Council's attention. When we made first contact, humanity had just emerged from a global conflict that lasted several years. Their entire planet was organized around warfare production. We assumed this was temporary, a response to specific circumstances, but they never fully demilitarized, Krextar observed. Even after joining the Council, they maintained research into military applications for every technology they encountered. They approached peaceful cooperation as if it were temporary. Because, for humans it probably is, Thexmore said quietly. Our psychological profiles suggest that human society requires external challenges to maintain stability. Without enemies to fight, they create internal conflicts. Without problems to solve, they invent new problems. The two leaders stood in contemplative silence, reviewing the decision that would reshape galactic politics. Neither species had achieved their dominant positions through sentiment or moral considerations, but both understood that some actions carried risks that extended beyond immediate advantages. General, ensure that your fleets understand their rules of engagement. Human vessels should be encouraged to leave Council space voluntarily when possible. Violence should appear to come from pirates or other non-Council sources. We cannot afford to make martyrs of them. Krextar's reptilian features twisted into what might have been concern. Chancellor, what if they refuse to leave quietly? What if they resist expulsion with military force? Thexmore returned to his meditation pod, his golden eyes reflecting the chamber's soft lighting. Then, General, we will discover whether our assessment of human military capability was accurate. For the sake of galactic stability, I hope we have not underestimated them. Meanwhile, in the Silari section of Nexus Prime, Ambassador Lysian sat in meditation with her aide, Kessara. The telepathic connection between them carried emotions and impressions that their spoken language could never adequately express. The human ambassador's mind burned with genuine confusion and hurt, Lysian shared through their mental link. He truly believed his species had found acceptance among us. Kessara's thoughts carried worry and foreboding. The Chancellor and General Krextar's minds are shielded, but their emotional resonance suggests they are not telling the complete truth about their intentions toward humanity. I fear we have witnessed the beginning of something terrible, Lysiane replied. The human's emotional intensity that I mentioned to the Council is not just capacity for violence, it is also capacity for loyalty, determination, and innovation under pressure. Species that burn so brightly rarely extinguish quietly. Their meditation was interrupted by a priority communication from the Silari homeworld. Elder Nimaleth, the oldest and most respected of their kind, appeared in holographic form within their chamber. Young ones, the Council of Elders has sensed disturbance in the galactic consciousness. The human's expulsion has created ripples that extend far beyond immediate politics. Lysiane bowed respectfully. Elder, we witnessed the proceedings. The humans were given no opportunity for appeal or compromise. Captain Li Daehyun stood on the bridge of the HSS Teguk, watching as Earth's pale blue disk slowly rotated below them. The experimental warship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike, its angular hull reflecting the harsh light of Sol in ways that made it seem to shift and blur at the edges. Unlike the flowing organic designs favored by alien species, the Teguk looked like what it was, a weapon built by a species that understood war. Dr. Park Mina approached from the science station, her tablet displaying technical readouts that would have impressed even Velkari engineers. Captain, all systems are showing optimal performance. The Cascade drive is charged and ready for immediate deployment. Our quantum-folded armor is operating at maximum efficiency. Lee nodded, his dark eyes never leaving the tactical display that showed the positions of human colonies scattered throughout the galaxy's outer rim. Red indicators marked the locations where human vessels had already been attacked by what official reports called pirates. But what everyone knew were Korthak military units operating without identification. Doctor, explain the Cascade drive to me one more time, Lee requested. I want to be certain I understand our capabilities before we commit to this operation. Park activated a holographic projection between them, showing a three-dimensional model of space-time that twisted and folded in ways that challenged conventional understanding. Traditional faster-than-light travel used by other species relies on jump points and established routes through subspace. Ships must travel between specific coordinates along predictable paths. Like roads, Lee observed. Exactly. The Cascade drive doesn't use roads. It creates temporary folds in space-time that allow us to appear anywhere within our operational range without using established jump points. We can arrive inside enemy formations, behind their lines, or in places they would never expect because it should be impossible. Lee studied the projection, understanding the tactical implications. How long can we maintain Cascade jumps? Our power core can support approximately 47 Cascade jumps before requiring recharge. Each jump can cover up to 15 light-years instantly. More importantly, our jumps don't create the energy signatures that alien sensors are designed to detect. The communication system activated with Admiral Choi Jiho's voice transmitting from Earth Defense Command. Captain Lee, Operation Homecoming has been approved at the highest levels. Your mission parameters are as follows. Demonstrate human military capability without initiating full-scale war. Protect human civilians by any means necessary. Gather intelligence on alien military preparations. Make them understand what they're really dealing with. Understood, Admiral, Lee replied. What are our rules of engagement? There are no rules, Captain, except this. Bring your crew home alive. The politicians had their chance to solve this diplomatically. Now it's our turn to send a different kind of message. Dr. Park pulled up additional tactical displays showing the current positions of Korthak and Velkari fleets throughout Council space. Captain, our first priority should be the human colony ship Busan. They've been broadcasting distress signals for 6 hours. Korthak destroyers have surrounded them and are demanding they surrender for inspection. Lee's expression hardened. The Busan carried 12,000 human civilians, including families who had been returning from trade missions when the expulsion order was announced. Navigation, plot a Cascade jump to the Busan's coordinates. Weapons, prepare all offensive systems for immediate deployment upon arrival. Sir, the weapons officer replied, the Busan is surrounded by 8 Korthak destroyers. Engagement protocols suggest we request reinforcements. Ensign Kim, how long have you been in the service? Lee asked. 4 years, sir. Then you haven't seen what happens when humans fight to protect their own. We don't request reinforcements. We become the reinforcement. The Teguk's crew moved with practiced efficiency as they prepared for their first combat deployment. The ship's artificial intelligence, a system that would have terrified alien observers with its ability to adapt and learn in real time, began calculating optimal attack patterns based on known Korthak tactical doctrines. Cascade jump in 30 seconds, the navigation officer announced. Dr. Park monitored the quantum-folded armor systems that gave the Teguk its distinctive ability to survive damage that would cripple other vessels. Captain, I'm detecting unusual energy signatures from our destination. The Korthak ships appear to be charging weapons. They're planning to destroy the Busan, Lee realized. They want to eliminate witnesses before claiming it was a pirate attack. Cascade jump initiated. Space twisted around the Teguk as reality folded and reformed. One moment they hung in Earth's orbital space, the next they materialized directly between the Korthak destroyers and the human colony ship. The alien vessels reacted with shock and confusion, their sensors unable to understand how a human warship had appeared in the middle of their formation. This is Captain Lee Daehyun of the HSS Teguk to Korthak vessels, Lee transmitted on open channels. You will immediately withdraw from this area and allow the human colony ship to continue its journey. General Krekstar's voice responded with barely controlled rage. Human vessel, you are in violation of Council space restrictions. Surrender immediately or face destruction. General, I'm going to explain something to you about humans, Lee replied calmly. We don't surrender, we don't retreat, and we don't abandon our people. The lead Korthak destroyer opened fire, its plasma cannons striking the Teguk's quantum-folded armor. The energy that should have penetrated the hull simply dispersed across the ship's surface like water running off metal. The human warship didn't even slow down as it accelerated directly toward the alien formation. All weapons open fire, Lee commanded. What happened next became the stuff of legend among human survivors throughout the galaxy. The Teguk's weapon systems had been designed by humans who understood that wars were won by destroying the enemy's ability to fight, not by engaging in elegant duels. Gravitational pulse cannons tore through Korthak shields like tissue paper. Quantum torpedoes struck with precisely calculated force to disable rather than destroy, leaving alien crews alive but helpless. The battle lasted 11 minutes. When it ended, 6 Korthak destroyers floated dead in space, their crews alive but their ships completely disabled. The remaining 2 destroyers fled at maximum speed, broadcasting emergency signals that would reach every alien military command in Council space. Colony ship Busan, this is Captain Lee. You are free to continue your journey. Safe travels. Captain Lee, this is Captain Yoon aboard the Busan. We thought we were dead. How did you just appear like that? Captain Yoon, that's classified. But you can tell your passengers that humanity doesn't abandon its own. Teguk out. Dr. Park reviewed the battle data with growing excitement. Captain, our weapons performed beyond specifications. The gravitational pulse cannons were 40% more effective against Korthak shields than projected. Their armor couldn't adapt to our quantum torpedoes. More importantly, Lee observed, they fought exactly like their tactical manuals said they would. Textbook formations, predictable responses, no adaptation to unexpected circumstances. The communication system activated with a priority signal from Admiral Choi. Captain, that was beautifully done. Intelligence reports indicate the entire Korthak military command is in emergency session. They're calling you everything from a terrorist to a war criminal. And what does Earth Command call me? Lee asked. A hero. But more importantly, you've given us the intelligence we needed. The alien military forces are not prepared for our level of technological advancement or our tactical flexibility. Continue your mission, Captain. Show them what humans look like when we're not playing by their rules. Over the following days, the Teguk became a ghost story told throughout Council space. The ship appeared wherever human civilians were threatened, struck with overwhelming force, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Supply convoys found themselves facing a warship that materialized from nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Military installations discovered that their defensive systems were useless against an enemy that could bypass every established protocol for space combat. Dr. Park spent her time analyzing captured alien technology and found disturbing patterns. Captain, these weapons systems are decades old. Some of the Korthak destroyers we disabled were using tactical computers that haven't been updated in over 50 years. They've grown comfortable, Lee realized. They've dominated this galaxy for so long that they stopped innovating. They stopped preparing for real threats. It's worse than that. Their entire military doctrine is based on intimidation rather than actual combat effectiveness. They rely on species being too afraid to fight back rather than being too weak to fight back. The Teguk continued its mission, rescuing human civilians, gathering intelligence, and demonstrating capabilities that made alien military leaders lose sleep. Each engagement revealed more about the galaxy's supposedly superior civilizations, and what humanity discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. The aliens had forgotten how to fight a real war. They had forgotten what it meant to face an enemy that adapted, innovated, and refused to follow established patterns. General Krextar stood in the command center of the Korthak flagship Dominator, staring at tactical displays that told a story of impossible humiliation. 12 fleets, representing the combined military might of 3 species, had been hunting a single human warship for 18 days. The result was a trail of disabled vessels, destroyed supply depots, and military personnel who jumped at shadows. "Report," Krextar demanded, his throat sac inflated with barely controlled rage. Commander Thekral approached cautiously, his scaled features showing the strain of constant failure. "General, the human vessel struck again 6 hours ago. They appeared inside our defensive perimeter around the Kepler mining station, disabled our patrol squadron, and rescued 43 human workers before we could react." "How many casualties?" "None among our forces, sir. As with previous encounters, the humans disabled our weapons and life support systems, but left crews alive. However, the psychological impact on our personnel is becoming severe." Krextar's claws scraped against the metal railing as he struggled to contain his frustration. The human ship, this Teguk, had become something out of nightmare stories told to frighten young Korthak warriors. It appeared without warning, struck with overwhelming force, and vanished before any effective response was possible. "What does our tactical analysis reveal about their capabilities?" Krextar asked. Commander Thekral activated a holographic display showing compiled data from 18 separate encounters. The human vessel appears to use a form of space-time manipulation that allows instantaneous travel without relying on established jump points. Their weapons output exceeds our most optimistic estimates of human technology. Most concerning, their tactics suggest complete knowledge of our standard operating procedures. "They're predicting our moves," Krextar realized. "Worse, sir. They're not just predicting them, they're manipulating them. Analysis of engagement patterns suggests they're deliberately choosing encounters that force us to respond according to established doctrine, then exploiting the predictability of those responses." The tactical display showed the human ship's movement patterns over the past 18 days. Rather than random strikes or simple harassment, the attacks followed a carefully designed strategy that had drawn Korthak forces away from key positions and stretched their resources across impossible distances. "Sir," another officer interrupted, "we're receiving a priority communication from Chancellor Thexmore." The holographic image of the Velkari leader appeared in the command center, his forearms gesturing with agitation that was unusual for his normally composed species. "General Krextar, the situation with the human vessel has escalated beyond acceptable parameters. Our economic losses are approaching critical levels." "Chancellor, my forces are doing everything possible to locate and destroy the human ship. However, their technological capabilities exceed our intelligence estimates." "That is precisely the problem," Thexmore replied. "We expelled humanity based on assessments that now appear to have been severely inadequate. This single vessel is demonstrating capabilities that threaten our fundamental assumptions about human military potential." Krextar's reptilian features twisted with frustration. "What are your orders, Chancellor?" "Destroy it at any cost. Deploy additional fleets if necessary. Use whatever weapons are required. This demonstration of human capability must end before other species begin questioning our decision to expel them. The communication ended, leaving Krextar alone with the impossible task of destroying an enemy that seemed to exist outside the normal rules of space combat. He turned to his strategic planning staff, officers who had spent decades perfecting the art of intimidation and control. Options, he demanded. Sir, we could abandon pursuit and focus on fortifying key installations, one officer suggested. Unacceptable. Running from a single enemy vessel would destroy our reputation throughout the galaxy. We could request assistance from other council species, another officer offered. Also unacceptable. Admitting we cannot handle one human ship would make us appear weak. Then, sir, we have only one remaining option. We must force them to fight on our terms instead of theirs. Krextar considered this. Explain. The humans have demonstrated consistent behavior patterns. They prioritize protecting human civilians above all other considerations. They will take extreme risks to rescue their people. You're suggesting we use human civilians as bait. I'm suggesting we create a situation where they cannot use their superior mobility to avoid direct confrontation. Meanwhile, aboard the Taeguk, Captain Lee Dae-hyun reviewed intelligence reports that painted an increasingly dangerous picture. Dr. Park Mina stood beside him, her analysis of alien fleet movements revealing patterns that made both of them uncomfortable. Captain, they're repositioning forces around human population centers, she observed. The Korthak fleets are no longer trying to hunt us directly. They're surrounding areas where human civilians are most concentrated. Lee studied the tactical display, recognizing the trap being prepared. They're going to force us to fight on their terms by threatening our people. Sir, our orders were to avoid full-scale war while protecting human civilians. If they're willing to target civilian populations, those objectives may be incompatible. The communication system activated with an encrypted signal from Earth Defense Command. Admiral Choi's voice carried tension that reflected the growing crisis. Captain Lee, we've received intelligence that Korthak forces are planning a major operation against human colonies in the Outer Rim. Intelligence suggests they intend to take hostages. Admiral, with respect, that would violate every galactic treaty regarding civilian populations. Captain, we're no longer dealing with civilized opponents following established rules. We're dealing with bullies who have been challenged for the first time in centuries. Desperate bullies do desperate things. Dr. Park pulled up additional sensor data showing the movement of Velkari support ships toward human colonial regions. Captain, it's not just the Korthak military. The Velkari are positioning humanitarian aid vessels in the same areas. They're preparing to claim they're protecting human civilians from Korthak aggression, while actually helping to coordinate the operation, Lee realized. They want to appear benevolent while eliminating human presence in this galaxy. Sir, we're receiving a distress signal from the colony on New Sol. They report Korthak vessels demanding immediate evacuation of all human residents. Lee felt the cold anger that had driven him throughout his military career. The aliens had made the mistake of threatening not just human soldiers or ships, but the families and children who represented humanity's future among the stars. Dr. Park, how many cascade jumps do we have remaining? 34, sir. But Captain, New Sol is defended by a full Korthak battle group, 16 heavy cruisers and support vessels. Even with our advantages, those odds. Doctor, let me explain something about humans that the aliens have failed to understand. We don't calculate odds when our families are threatened. We calculate how much damage we can inflict before we go down. You're planning a direct assault on a fortified position. I'm planning to remind the galaxy why human beings survived everything our homeworld could throw at us for millions of years. The Taeguk's crew prepared for what might be their final battle as they approached the New Sol system. Unlike their previous hit-and-run tactics, this engagement would require them to face superior numbers in direct combat with no possibility of retreat. Captain, the weapons officer reported, all systems are charged and ready. Quantum torpedoes loaded, gravitational pulse cannons at maximum power. Dr. Park, what's the status of our quantum-folded armor? Operating at full capacity, but Captain, sustained fire from 16 heavy cruisers will overwhelm our defensive systems eventually. Lee looked around the bridge at his crew. seeing the determination in their faces that had made humanity dangerous throughout its history. Then we better make sure we don't give them the chance for sustained fire. Cascade jump initiated. The eye. Teguk materialized in the center of the Korthak formation around New Sol, its sudden appearance causing momentary confusion among the alien vessels. But this time, the Korthak forces were prepared for human tactics and responded with coordinated fire from multiple directions simultaneously. Evasive maneuvers, Lee commanded as energy beams and plasma bolts filled the space around them. Target their flagship first. What followed was a battle that would be studied by military historians throughout the galaxy for generations to come. The lone human warship moved through the alien formation like a shark among dolphins, its weapons seeking critical systems with surgical precision, while its armor absorbed punishment that should have been fatal. But this time, the outcome would be different. This time the hunters had become the hunted, and both sides were about to discover what humans looked like when they had nothing left to lose. "Captain," Dr. Park reported, as the ship shuddered under concentrated fire. "Armor integrity is down to 60%. We're taking damage faster than our systems can compensate. Then we finish this quickly. All weapons, target the command ship, everything we have." The Teguk turned toward General Krextar's flagship, its bow aimed like an arrow at the heart of the alien formation. The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called after reports reached Nexus Prime that the human warship had somehow survived the battle at New Sol and was now moving toward the station itself. Chancellor Thexmore stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing frantically as he tried to maintain control over a situation that had spiraled beyond all predictions. "Honored delegates, the human threat has escalated beyond acceptable parameters," he announced to the assembled representatives. "General Krextar reports that despite overwhelming numerical superiority, Korthak forces were unable to destroy the single human vessel." Ambassador Lysian sat in the Solari section, her pale features showing deep concern as her telepathic abilities detected the fear and panic radiating from the alien delegates around her. The careful order that had maintained galactic peace for centuries was cracking under the pressure of humanity's refusal to submit quietly to expulsion. "What are the casualties?" asked the Hive Queen, her mandibles clicking nervously. "Surprisingly minimal," Thexmore replied, though his tone suggested this was somehow worse than if the humans had killed everyone. "The human vessel disabled, rather, then destroyed most of our ships. Their crew appears to follow some form of ethical constraint even during combat operations. Then why is everyone so afraid?" The Riftborn representative pulsed in colors that translated to genuine confusion. The answer came from General Krextar's image, transmitted from his damaged flagship. The reptilian officer's scales showed stress patterns that indicated barely controlled panic. Because they defeated a full battle group while following those ethical constraints. The implications of what they could accomplish if they abandoned such limitations are troubling. The chamber fell silent as the assembled delegates processed this information. A species that could devastate their military forces while still trying to minimize casualties was far more dangerous than simple aggressors who killed indiscriminately. "Sir," an aide whispered to Chancellor Thexmore, "we're receiving a proximity alert. The human vessel has just appeared on our outer sensor grid." Thexmore's golden eyes widened. "That's impossible. Nexus Prime is surrounded by defensive platforms and patrol fleets. Chancellor, the human ship is not approaching through normal space. Our sensors detect massive space-time distortions consistent with their unusual propulsion system." The main display activated, showing the sleek, angular form of the Teguk materializing directly outside the station's central hub. The human warship hung motionless in space, its weapons powered but not targeting any specific threats. It simply waited, like a predator that had cornered its prey and was deciding what to do next. "This is Captain Lee De-Yun of the Earth Defense, Force to Nexus Prime Control," came the transmission that filled the council chamber. "I request permission to dock and address the Galactic Council. Human vessel, you are in violation of council space and will be fired upon if you do not withdraw immediately." General Krextar responded from his position with the defense fleet. "General, I've defeated your forces twice now while trying not To kill anyone. Don't make me demonstrate what happens when I stop being so considerate. Thexmore activated his own communication system, his voice carrying forced calm. Captain Lee, what do you hope to accomplish with this demonstration? Your species has been expelled from the Council. This action will only confirm our decision was correct. Chancellor, I'm here to give you one chance to understand what you've really done by expelling humanity from the galactic community. The Council chamber erupted in alien voices expressing outrage, fear, and confusion. A single human ship had penetrated the most heavily defended location in Council space and was now making demands of the galaxy's ruling body. Dr. Park, Lee said quietly on the Tegux bridge, are you recording everything? Yes, sir. Every sensor reading, every communication, every tactical display. Earth Defense Command will have complete documentation of this encounter. Good. Whatever happens here today, humanity needs to understand exactly what kind of galaxy we're dealing with. Ambassador Lysian stood slowly in the Council chamber, her telepathic senses overwhelmed by the emotional chaos surrounding her. Chancellor, I request permission to establish communication with the human captain. Denied, Thexmore replied. Immediately. We will not negotiate with terrorists. With respect, Chancellor, they are not terrorists. They are representatives of a species you have declared unwelcome in this galaxy. Perhaps we should listen to what they have to say. The debate was interrupted by alarms throughout Nexus Prime as additional human ships began appearing on sensors. The cavalry that Captain Lee had never requested was arriving in the form of Earth Defense Force vessels that had followed the Taeguk's trail through Council space. Chancellor, Admiral Choi Jiho's voice transmitted from the command ship arriving with the human fleet. This is Admiral Choi of the Earth Defense Force. We are here to retrieve our personnel and discuss the current situation. Thexmore looked around the Council chamber, seeing fear in the faces of delegates who had assumed their technological superiority was unquestionable. Admiral, your presence here constitutes an act of war against the Galactic Council. No, Chancellor. It constitutes a response to your systematic attacks on human civilians. We have documented evidence of Korthak military units disguised as pirates attacking human vessels. We have recordings of your intelligence services coordinating what you call incidents, designed to pressure human colonies into abandoning their homes. Dr. Park activated the Taeguk's external speakers, broadcasting the evidence they had gathered throughout their mission. The chamber filled with audio recordings of alien commanders discussing strategies to eliminate human presence in the galaxy through what they euphemistically called voluntary relocation. The galaxy will hear these recordings, Admiral Choi continued. Every species, every colony, every trade consortium will understand that the Galactic Council maintains its authority through systematic intimidation and elimination of potential competitors. Ambassador Lysian stepped forward again, her voice carrying the moral authority of a species known throughout the galaxy for their wisdom and neutrality. Chancellor Thexmore, the Solari have remained silent during these proceedings out of respect for Council authority. However, we cannot remain silent in the face of evidence of systematic persecution. The Solari are pacifists. Thexmore replied dismissively. Your opinions carry no military weight. Perhaps not, but our communications network reaches every corner of Council space. Within hours, every species in the galaxy will know the truth about humanity's expulsion and the methods used to enforce it. The chamber erupted again as delegates realized the implications. The carefully constructed narrative of human aggression was collapsing under the weight of actual evidence. Captain Lee activated his personal communicator, addressing the Council directly. Honored delegates, humanity never wanted to be your enemy. We wanted to be your partners, your friends, your colleagues in building a better galaxy. You rejected that offer because you were afraid of change, afraid of competition, afraid that other species might choose human innovation over your established monopolies. You threatened the stability that has maintained galactic peace for centuries. General Krexter protested. General, what you call stability, we call stagnation. What you call peace, we call oppression. And what you call order, we call the systematic suppression of anything that challenges your authority. Dr. Park transmitted additional data, showing the technological stagnation that had characterized alien civilizations for generations. Your weapon systems are decades old. Your ships use designs that haven't been updated in centuries. You've become so comfortable in your dominance that you've forgotten how to innovate. Because innovation is dangerous, Chancellor Thexmore admitted. Change brings chaos. New technologies disrupt established systems. New ideas challenge proven methods. And new species challenge your monopoly on power, Admiral Choi observed. That's what this was really about from the beginning. You expelled humanity not because we were aggressive, but because we were successful. The truth hung in the council chamber like a physical presence. The delegates looked around at each other, seeing their own fears and prejudices reflected in alien faces that had seemed so different, but shared the same desire to maintain their comfortable positions at the expense of genuine progress. Ambassador, Lysiane's voice carried sadness as she addressed her fellow council members. We have made a grave error in judgment, and the consequences will extend far beyond humanity's expulsion. We have revealed to the galaxy that council membership is conditional upon accepting subordinate status to established powers. The galaxy will draw its own conclusions, Admiral Choi agreed, and I suspect many species will decide they prefer partnership with humanity to continued submission to the Council's version of stability. Captain Lee's final transmission carried the weight of historical moment. Chancellor Thexmore, General, Krextar honored delegates. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when threatened. You've seen it. One ship, one crew, operating within ethical constraints that your forces abandoned long ago, defeated everything you could bring against us.